Lisa.
Governor, how you doing?
Nice to see you. Morning, Governor. Good to see you. How are you? You good? Yeah. Hello, everybody. Hey, Mary. How are you all? You good? You representing the board? I think, Nick, you're up first, I think.
Ready?
Yeah. Right.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Fairlawn. I am honored to have everybody here in Fairlawn Public Schools. I'd like to welcome Governor Murphy here. It is quite an honor to be standing here right now. I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge Assemblywoman Lisa Swain, Commissioner of Education McMillan, who is here with us, Deputy Mayor Christina Catron, who is here. We also have our Board of Education President, Jean Banta, and Middle School Principal, Michael Weaver. This was quite an honor when I had found out that Governor Murphy would be coming here to visit Fairlawn Public Schools. Fairlawn is a district that we are extremely proud of, a district that puts education on a pedestal, a community that values education, puts it above all else. When you have those attributes and you put education so high, ultimately our students are the future of tomorrow. Our motto here in Fairlawn is the leaders of tomorrow attend Fairlawn schools today. And it's something that we hold close to our hearts. So today's announcement is even more special when that is our motto or our creed that we follow every day in here at Fairlawn. Fairlawn is the future, and I'd like to just say thank you once again for being here. And without further ado, I'd like to welcome Deputy Mayor Christina Catron, also a teacher and a friend and a partner in the community. So, Deputy Mayor.
It's an honor to be here, and I'm thrilled that the governor is here with us today in Fairlawn for this very exciting and important announcement. Thank you, Superintendent Norcia, for your kind words and for all that you do for the Fairlawn schools. Here in Fairlawn, we're proud to have some of the best schools in the state. Thank you to the governor for all that you are doing to build a strong future for everyone in New Jersey as we continue to face the difficulties and unprecedented challenges of this pandemic. It's so important that we continue to invest in our priorities so that we come out of this stronger than ever. And Governor Murphy has always understood that education is a big part of that. We're also incredibly thankful that the governor recognizes the importance of the state's continued support of our local schools and communities in helping to provide property tax relief. Thank you, Governor Murphy, for supporting our educators, our parents, and our children's future. As the superintendent pointed out, Fairlawn Schools has for a long time had the motto, the leaders of tomorrow attend Fairlawn schools today. And that's because we know that when we value and support public education, we're not just shaping young minds, we're giving our children the skills, the tools, and the knowledge that they need to lead successful lives and build strong communities. Education opens doors and provides opportunities. It's the very foundation upon which our children can achieve their dreams and thrive in every aspect of their life. Of course, those of you who know me know in addition to serving as deputy mayor, I'm also a proud public high school teacher. Please know that funding our schools is something that is incredibly near and dear to my heart. As a teacher, I know firsthand that educators like myself could not do our jobs effectively without the proper resources and support of our elected leaders. It's so important that our schools have the resources they need to provide the best possible learning experience for our students, especially in a growing district where enrollment has increased, such as here in Fairlawn. In fact, that's why our district recently made significant upgrades to Thomas Jefferson Middle School here and our second middle school memorial. It's all about meeting the needs of our students and providing the high-quality education that they deserve. And I don't just say that because in a few short years, my two young children will be attending the school we're in today. But each and every child deserves access to high-quality education and the opportunities that a great education provide. Which is why, again, we are so grateful to have a governor who truly gets that. So, without further ado, it is my honor on behalf of the entire mayor and council here in Fair Lawn to welcome and introduce Governor Phil Murphy. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina.
I'll get one of my masks back
I know
on
you've got to
there.
take your time here. We'll get you a third here in a minute. Thank you so much. I now have to go through the ritual of taking mine off here, so please forgive me. What a treat it is to be here. I'm the former United States ambassador to the Federal Republic of Germany, and I showed up 3.5 minutes late. If we were in Germany, you all would have left. So from the bottom of my heart, I say I'm sorry. Thank you. Let me start in the order of speakers. Good morning, everybody, by the way. Good morning, class. Thank you, Superintendent Nick Narcia, for your words and for your leadership, for welcoming us here to the Thomas Jefferson Middle School and the great community, Lisa, of Fair Lawn. Principal Mike Weaver cannot go to a school without getting permission from the principal. So great to be with you, and thank you very much for having us. Jean, great to be with you as well. Bless you, and thank you, and members of the Board of Ed, to the educators, the administrators, the staff at this school and throughout the district. Thank you, Deputy Mayor and dear friend Christina Catron, for your introduction and for all you do every day, including as a great educator. Please give the Mayor, Kurt, my very best, and to you and members of council, along with the Mayor, thank you. Incredibly honored to be with this woman. To my immediate right, the Acting Commissioner of the Department of Education, Dr. Angelica Allen McMillan. Bless you and thank you for everything you're doing. And a dear friend, I find there are some extraordinary legislators, including your very own partners, Chris Tully and Joe Lagana. But the fact that Lisa has been a mayor in this community and is a legislator is a real difference maker. And she's a great leader and a great partner. So Lisa, great to be with you. Mary Amorosa is in the House representing the county commissioners. How nice is it to say county commissioners and no longer have to say the other words? But to you and Steve Tonelli, the current chair, and the rest of the team, thank you for everything you do. So 2 days ago, by the way, this is an annual event. Angelica knows this because she's been on the Morris County side of this. This is the day when you stand up, and because all the districts, I believe today, Angelica, by law, are going to find out what they get. And so 2 days ago, I put forward our budget for the upcoming fiscal year, which begins, as you all know, this July 1st. And there are many historic investments that we will make in the coming year. And obviously, this is now between now and June 30th. New Jersey is a really good process on the budget. I present it, and then with the legislature, Lisa and her colleagues, we go back and forth. Angelica will sit before and answer questions, as will all the other cabinet heads. But in the budget I presented yesterday, some highlights. The first full pension payment in New Jersey in 25 years, which is a big deal. And most folks said we couldn't do that. When I say the first full pension payment, it's since 1996. Just to give you a sense of the difference between this budget and 1996, this budget is putting $6.4 billion into the pension system, 6.39 to be precise. The number in 1996, $228 million. And the price for delinquency, which we have to make this point. If we had made the state full pension payments over those past 25 years, that would have increased from about $228 million to about $800 million this year. So I mentioned we're paying $6.4 billion. So the price for delinquency over 25 years in this budget, in this one budget, is $5.6 billion. Enough already. As we said, we're not kicking the can down the road anymore. We're picking it up enough. Making other things that we're proud of, making health care and child care more accessible and affordable for working and middle-class families, helping our business community, especially our Main Street small businesses, come back stronger from the pandemic. But underpinning so much is the investment we will make in our schools and in our educational communities. from pre-K all the way up through graduation. A strong education, as Nick said, as Christina said, is the foundation for everything we seek to achieve. This budget would increase our overall investment in our schools by roughly $700 million. It will allow us to continue to chip away, dollar by dollar, and Christina made this point, at the high property taxes that have hamstrung so many middle-class owners, homeowners, and especially seniors who look at their property tax bill and see on average 53% of it is for public education, yet their kids have graduated. Over the past 4 years, our budgets have increased direct school investment by nearly $1.5 billion, a key reason why our administration's first 3 years correspond with 3 of the lowest year-over-year increases in property taxes on record. And today, the department, as I mentioned, under Angelica's leadership, is releasing its breakdown of how the nearly of that $700 million, $580 million of it is in new formula aid and how it will be distributed. And after years of chronic underfunding of our classrooms, we're getting back to where we need to be. This is good for our students. This is good for our educators. This is good for our district and school leaders, and this is good for our educational communities. But right now, as we rapidly approach 1 year, it's hard to believe, since COVID-19 first disrupted our students' learning, this investment is about ensuring that they are not left out or left alone. We know that the learning loss is real and that there are students, whether they be here in Fair Lawn and other districts in Bergen County or anywhere else in our state, who have fallen behind in their studies during this time of remote and hybrid learning. This is not their fault, nor to be sure is it the fault of their district administrators, their educators, or parents. It is the fault of a pandemic that has uprooted so many of our routines and introduced innumerable, and in some cases immeasurable, stresses and mental health challenges into the daily lives of countless New Jerseyans, including our school students. So the additional $700 million investment that we make in our classrooms today, as more of our students transition away from all remote learning and back into some form of in-person instruction, whether it be all in-person or hybrid, is critical. You all are hybrid here, is that right, Principal? Yeah. It's critical to ensuring that our students and communities get back up together, and it's critical to ensuring that they have the tools to keep forging ahead. This budget continues the support we have put in place over the current fiscal year, including the $60 million investment of federal funds that we put forward to close the digital divide among our students, which was in the summer 231,000 students, and it is roughly 98 students as I stand here today. And by the way, 98 is 98 too many. We will get that to 0. Closing this divide is critical to much more than stemming learning loss during this pandemic. It is absolutely vital to ensuring that every student has access to the technology they need for a 21st century education. This is an area where the continued support of the federal government is additive. Last week, alongside Angelica, we announced a $1.2 billion initiative funded through federal pandemic response dollars to directly help our schools combat learning loss and ensure that our kids have the academic and mental health supports present to get back to the level of attainment they need, not just for the next grade, but to ensure they are not stopped in their pursuits of their long-term dreams and aspirations. These funds, when coupled with our budget's increased school funding, means that we will have nearly $2 billion more at our disposal to expand educational opportunities while meaningfully and aggressively combating learning loss, whether through greater access to one-on-one tutoring or broadening opportunities for summer learning or providing our educators with strong professional development or giving parents the tools to better assist with their kids' learning. Together, this means our schools can prepare not just for the year to come, but for the future, and know that more students will be ready for it. Helping students, by the way, recover isn't just for the sake of their future, but for our entire states. We can't leave a generation of students behind. If we want our future to be as bright as it can be, we need to make certain every student's future is as bright as theirs can be. As we are at the Thomas Jefferson Middle School, it's appropriate to quote, you won't be surprised that I'm going to quote the big guy, one of our nation's founding fathers, and I quote the president, "I think by far the most important bill in our whole code is that for the diffusion of knowledge among the people. No other sure foundation can be devised for the preservation of freedom and happiness." As usual, Jefferson said it just about right. So to be sure, the pandemic has shaken that foundation. The goal of our budget is to shore up the weaknesses that the pandemic has either exposed or caused, so we can build a stronger and fairer and more resilient New Jersey that will stand tall. A stronger and fairer New Jersey that will preserve the dreams of the generations to come. Every new dollar, and there's a lot of them, of school funding in this budget, is a grain of cement in the mortar that we are applying to our shaken state foundation. Whether it be for the community here in Fairlawn or in any one of our educational communities, this is welcome indeed. Thank you all again so much for the opportunity to visit. I'm incredibly humbled. I hope to be able to return, Mr. Principal, when this school is once again filled to the brim with students and educators, a place I know we will get back to in no small measure because of the funding we are providing. It is now my great pleasure to introduce a colleague and a terrific leader, the Acting Commissioner of the Department of Education, Dr. Angelica Allen McMillan.
Thank you for your patience. Thank you, Governor Murphy, for the opportunity to join you here at Thomas Jefferson Middle School to mark the proposal of yet another historic investment in pre-kindergarten through grade 12 education. Superintendent Norcia, you and your staff have been gracious hosts, and I am thrilled to be with you and the Fairlawn School community. Assemblywoman Swain, Deputy Mayor Catron, Fairlawn's Public School Board of Education President Eugene Banta, Principal Michael Weaver, and Dr. Richard Baza, Executive Director of the New Jersey Association of School Administrators. I thank you for your continued support of Fairlawn Public Schools. We are just under 3 weeks shy of a full year since Governor Murphy first ordered all elementary and secondary schools closed to in-person instruction. Since March 2020, students, educators, and families have shouldered the incredible burden of rebuilding remote education systems from the ground up, reopening schools this past fall, and adapting to our current normal of responding to the ever-changing tide of the COVID-19 pandemic. Against this backdrop, Governor Murphy's commitment to building a stronger and fairer education system has never been more important. The governor's proposed budget reaffirms that commitment and makes clear that our students and educators remain a top priority during this ongoing public health crisis. This year's budget proposal includes the highest kindergarten through grade 12 Formula Aid levels in New Jersey's history, increasing funding by $578 million over last year. About 2/3 of districts will see an increase in state aid, as the budget message calls for the full schedule phase-in under S2, including approximately $4 million of additional aid for Fairlawn Public Schools, which is a 52.3% increase. This proposal also includes a $50 million allocation in stabilization aid to assist school districts with implementing plans to adjust to new funding levels under S2. The governor's proposed budget also reflects his continued commitment to early childhood education, increasing preschool education aid by $50 million, including $26 million dedicated to expanding access to high-quality preschool by supporting programs in new school districts and enhancing the quality of existing programs. Additionally, this budget proposal will continue to advance long-standing administration priorities, including computer science education and wraparound services for low-income families. A $1.2 million increase in the K-12 computer science education initiative will build on progress we have made towards providing students with access to a high-quality computer science education while continuing the $4.5 million supplemental wraparound program, which increases access to before-school, after-school, and summer wraparound childcare for low-income families. Within the last week, the governor and I have continually signaled the administration's clear and unwavering commitment to secure our state's education system. Last week, we announced a pair of grant opportunities totaling $105 million to provide learning acceleration and mental health supports. Today, we announce historic investments in education aid that fortify the central pillars of the administration's pre-K through 12 education agenda. Both actions are rooted in the same drive to provide our education community with the resources necessary to maintain equitable access to high-quality education while combating the manifold challenges of COVID-19. I would like to thank the governor for his steadfast commitment to that goal, and most importantly, I would like to thank the students, educators, and families of New Jersey, whose resilience and ingenuity continue to inspire me. Thank you for the work you do day in and day out to safeguard New Jersey's world-class education system as we navigate this pandemic and our collective next normal. Thank you.
Thank you, Angelica. One of the comments I would make when you listen to the litany of investments we're making, do we do it because we care about our kids? Clearly, first and foremost, right? There's no question about that. To give them as bright a shot at a great future as we possibly can. But it's also cold-blooded. It is at the very core of what we see are the reasons why families live here, why businesses choose to locate here, is we want to be in the top handful of public education systems consistently, year in and year out, in the United States, if not the world. We have at the other end of the spectrum a workforce. If you look at per square mile, we have the highest concentration of scientists and engineers in the world, and that's not by accident. So in addition to the right reasons, looking out for our kids and their futures, this investment is also cold-blooded in terms of our economic and societal future. With that, I mentioned her a few minutes ago. She's a friend. She's an outstanding legislator. She was an outstanding mayor here in Fair Lawn. And please help me welcome a terrific leader, Assemblywoman Lisa Swain.
Good morning, everyone. It's great to be here. I want to thank Governor Murphy for doing this event right here in one of the schools in my hometown of Fair Lawn, where my husband and my kids attended TJ right here. Of course, not here. This is all brand new. And, one of the main reason that we had to do this addition is because Fair Lawn has become such a popular town for many families to move to. And it's because of the investment in our education that families want to move here. They want to know that their kids are going to get the best education they can and move to a community that they can afford. During my time as council member and mayor here, as well as during my 3 years in the Assembly, I've always been a champion for our students and educators and have fought for the fair funding formula. I'm proud to have supported the legislation that fixed our state's funding formula. I will continue to work to support our students and to have the backs of our educators. Every dollar, as you've heard before by the governor, by the Deputy Mayor Catron, every dollar invested in education is an investment in our communities and provides much-needed taxpayer relief. New Jersey has the best education in the nation, and that is a testament to the work of our educators. I will always fight for the students here in Fair Lawn and across District 38 and the state of New Jersey. I look forward to working on the budget and making sure that all our educational goals are realized. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lisa. Well done. Lisa and I both run. I pretend to run. Lisa's a serious runner. And I was thinking, pulling up here today, between snow, pandemic, in my case, a couple of bad hamstrings, it feels like 20 years ago since we were out doing road races.
You were here for the Purim race.
I was, and Purim starts tonight, right?
Starts tonight.
Happy Purim.
Yeah.
Yeah, happy Purim to our Jewish brothers and sisters. That's right. So how many, that was like 15 years ago? Feels like it wasn't that long ago. Thank you, Lisa. Any questions from our press? Yes. I think we're doing no microphone, right? Okay. I'll repeat it. Assuming it's a pleasant question, I'll repeat the question. Pleasure.
Are you encouraged by the announcement regarding Johnson & Johnson and to address vaccine hesitancy, especially in Fair Lawn and around the country? What are your plans on comforting seniors and those who may be scared, and have you spoken with the president regarding this?
So I'm going to speak. The National Governors Association has a session with the president this afternoon. And so the answer is we will be, and I suspect the pandemic will be at the top of that list. Secondly, we're on with his team all the time. And that has been the case with the last administration and continues to be the case with this administration. Based on what we know now, very encouraged by Johnson & Johnson. Encouraged based on the FDA reports that were out yesterday, the fact that it's a one-dose vaccine, regular refrigeration, and it also sounds like the company is saying, assuming it achieves its emergency use authorization, they've got some shots ready, doses ready to get distributed. So for all those reasons, it's encouraging. Having said that, I don't make that call. That's an FDA independent advisory assessment that'll happen over the next several days. The one specific attribute to the J&J piece that is appealing, I think, is it will allow us, maybe not Monday, but over the coming weeks, it's going to allow us to be a lot more nimble because it's a one-shot regular refrigeration to get to communities that have been, and people that have been harder to reach. So we have the federal partnership up and running with FEMA. I was at First Baptist Church of Lincoln Gardens in Franklin Township yesterday, predominantly an African-American community and congregation. That's a step in the right direction. 2 days ago at a Latino church in Trenton with FEMA, again, National Guard, State Police, again, a step in the right direction. The J&J vaccine, if it's as good as they say it is and it gets approved, it furthers that in a big way for our ability to achieve the equity that we need to achieve. Thank you. Brent, how are you?
Has there been any evidence of the new strain in New York City, in New Jersey yet? And if not, are you concerned about what it can do here?
Yep.
And two, will the state let people over 65 get vaccines before people who are younger once the rollout starts getting better?
Yeah, so on the first, we're watching that very closely. We know that we have the UK vaccine, variant rather, in our midst. Concerned about what we're seeing in New York City. And by the way, you'll remember that in the spring, and Fair Lawn is a good example of this, Bergen County, Mary more broadly, the virus first evidenced itself in this county because of the bedroom community relationship with New York City. So for all those reasons, we're watching it very closely. Having said all that, there's no evidence yet that contradicts the points that we have been making and the Biden team have been making, that the basic stuff works against the variants. So even if they're more transmissible, mask wearing, social distancing as we are today, washing your hands with soap and water, taking yourself off the field if you've been exposed or you don't feel well, get tested at the right point, all of that appears still to be very much working against the variants as well. I don't think we've got it. But I will say this, Brent, we assume the worst and hope for the best. So the UK variant, before we knew it was here, we assumed it was here. I'm assuming if this is in New York City that it's in New Jersey. And that's the way we've got to operate, including, I'll bet you, right here in Bergen County, just because of the symbiotic relationship. I don't have a crisp answer for you in terms of how we line it up. We clearly want to open up to more folks. Educators, by the way, Christina, are high, as was said, high on our list in the on-deck circle. Other essential workers. How we actually do it, we're trying to work that through right now. And again, this somewhat, if not very much, depends on more supply. We've got the distribution muscle. We built that out ahead of time. We just need to put more supply through that. The Biden team has been doing a really good job moving that needle in the right direction. The J&J vaccine would help that in a big way. I realize I don't have any COVID overnight numbers. Do you have them, Danny? You do? Okay. If we don't have them, I was going to reach for my phone and I left it in the car. This is the... I also expect, Brent, one last thing is that in addition to the question about the president, I would expect I'm going to try to speak privately and directly on a bilateral basis with some of the health folks in the Fed, on the Fed side, on both vaccines as well as variants later today. With that, I can say thank you. And, ma'am, so I apologize. Nice to meet you.
My question is, two questions. Is there any money in the school aid budget to get internet access or internet improvements to rural areas? And secondly, the newest push for regionalization of schools. Can you comment on that and how it can be, can you support it, and how do you get a reluctant public to
Yeah. So, Angelica will correct me if I'm wrong. First of all, the $60 million that we put toward the digital divide was both devices and connectivity. The extent to which there are kids that still don't have either or both, that money is still addressing that. Of the 90% of the $1.2 billion that we announced last week, also federal money, school districts are able to use that for a range of COVID-related needs or challenges. Like there are 15 different categories. And so that's about just over $1 billion. And so that'd be up to the district, I believe, in terms of how they spend that money. Listen, you get the question all the time, home rule, which is both our greatest asset and also our greatest challenge in things like property taxes. School districts, of which we've got, we have 565 communities, over 600 districts. I don't think any other state in America can say that. So there's a lot of handmade interactions, largely Angelica and team, and a very much acknowledging that no school district is the same. We're also the number one public education system in America. So while I can see the benefits, and maybe I'd be open-minded to sort of looking at potential resources that can be pooled on a county basis, let's talk about Fair Lawn. Fair Lawn explicitly is really proud of its school system, right? And it is a badge of honor. And I think that's something personally I'm not sure I want to mess with. When you're number one, you want to stay there. Do you have numbers? Okay, here we go. Thank you. Thank you, Dan. So these are the COVID numbers for today. 3,079 new positives. 70, sadly, it's an unfathomable loss of life. 70 more losses of life confirmed for a total now of 20,816 confirmed. Hospitalizations just over 2,032. 438 in the ICU, 268 vents in use. 262 people walked into hospitals yesterday. 271 walked out. That's always good when you have more walking out than in. Spot positivity just under 11%. That's not surprising because it's based on Sunday, where we have fewer tests, and people typically aren't going on Saturday, Sunday, or a holiday to get tested unless they've got a reason that they think they're exposed or they've got fever or whatever it might be. One new case of the multi-system inflammatory syndrome in children. The rate of transmission is 0.88, and that is it. Thank you, Jenny. So with that, I want to thank the team here at Thomas Jefferson, or at TJ as it is known. Principal Mike Weaver. Mike, thank you very much to you and your team, educators, staff, administrators. Nick, thank you very much for all the work you do here. Lisa, bless you, as always. Angelica, I'm sure we'll be seeing a fair amount of each other. Christina, please give Kurt and the rest of the team our thanks, and thank you personally. Mary, bless you. Jean, thank you very much to everybody who's here. Deep appreciation for your hosting us. Again, public education is at the center of our state, our society, our aspirations for our future. And I want to thank everybody for coming out and hosting us so graciously. Thank you.